Here now are some of the highlights from the Spring 2023 Stack's Bowers auctions. Let's get the ball rolling with one of the great mysteries of early American numismatics, the Albany Church Token, or Albany Church Penny as they are also known. The truth is that we really don't know a lot about these. Exactly why they were made, how many, or even precisely when. Church tokens have a rich history in Great Britain, but in the American colonies in the 1700s, it just wasn't a top priority for many people, whether they were intended to raise funds or use as donatives during special periods like Christmas or Easter, or even quite possibly as proof of communion. A lot yet remains unknown, or more accurately, forgotten about these rare coins. Graded here by PCGS as VF35, it sold for $50,400 at auction. Following the birth of the nation, but before the establishment of the US Mint, a number of states took it upon themselves to start minting smaller denomination copper coins to support the local economy. These included Vermont, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Connecticut, and of course, New York. Although the strict legality of some of these issues may be disputed today, there is no doubt that they definitely circulated at the time, including this New York Excelsior copper coin. The current specimen graded by PCGS as AU53 with a spectacular provenance. It sold at auction for $144,000. One of the rarest, most underappreciated, and important Confederation-era American coins is the 1783 John Chalmers Rings Shilling, unique in its denomination for this era and the first appearance of the interlinked rings design, predating the Continental Dollar and the 1787 Fugio coppers as well, struck in Annapolis when it was the nation's temporary capital as the Treaty of Paris was being ratified by the Founding Fathers. Today, only 5 of these coins are known to exist, with this actually being the finest known with a grade of PCGS VF35. It sold at auction for $144,000. When the story of American money is told, oftentimes, whether correctly so or not, the first to be mentioned would be the New England Shillings of 1652, struck in the Massachusetts Bay Colony by John Hull for use in the New England colonies. The pragmatic, although very simplistic design of these silver coins soon invited fraud or outright forgery, though, and would soon be replaced with the willow, oak, and pine tree coins of later years. This example was graded by PCGS as AU50 and sold here at auction for $156,000. Now, if coins could talk, this piece would have quite the story to tell. Minted in colonial Brazil in 1754, where it likely circulated during the time of the Guarani Wars. It would then find its way to North America during the time of the War of Independence, where it was regulated by Ephram Brasher to the 1784 Bank of New York standard weight, using the exact same punch he used for his famous Brasher doubloons. It was featured at the 1914 A&S exhibition and has since become a landmark collectible. Today, graded by PCGS as AU53, it raised $168,000 at public auction. The legend of the SS Central America, or the Ship of Gold as it has become known in recent years, was born of tragedy when the sidewheel steamer was dragged 7,200 feet below the surface of the Atlantic Ocean, around 160-odd miles offshore of Charleston, South Carolina, after sailing into a hurricane on September 12, 1857. And there it would remain, lost for almost 130 years until it was recovered from its watery tomb, along with this 57.58-ounce gold ingot from banker and assayer Henry Hentsch, worth $1,029.59 when it was struck. At auction, this gold bar was sold for $216,000. And now for an example of the original greenback notes, so-called for their green ink used on the reverse of the bill. This 1861 $5 and other notes from the series are known as demand notes, as they could be exchanged at any time for the equivalent in gold. And during the uncertainty of the Civil War, many people wisely preferred to have physical gold instead of paper money, so most of the notes were redeemed and subsequently destroyed. Finding a high-grade example like this gem uncirculated 65 piece from PMG is extremely rare, going some way to explain the closing price at auction of $408,000. Just 5 Rosecrans Nebuchadnezzar signed 1882 $1,000 gold certificates are known to have survived. Auction records account for 2 of these specimens. Another 2 are known to be in the Federal Reserve Banks of Chicago and San Francisco collections, and the 5th is missing with its whereabouts currently unknown. This example is graded by PMG as VF35 and was sold at auction for the sum of $360,000. Sometimes, circumstances just seem to conspire in order to create a rare coin for future generations of collectors to swoon over. The 1886 Double Eagle is just such a case. The only Double Eagle to be struck at just a single mint, with records reflecting 106 coin-proof mintage being created from a single die marriage, and perhaps more to the point, a paltry mintage of 1,000 business strike coins. Today, only 20 to maybe 30 of these coins, on the most forgiving estimates, manage to survive. This is the single finest known of those at PCGS with a grade of proof 67 deep cameo. It, at auction, was able to achieve $468,000. The American Old West absolutely earned its popular sobriquet, and even though the streets of San Francisco were considerably more tamed than other Western territories, the, shall we say, governmental shortfall is expressed perfectly by the fact that coins like this Kellogg and Company Gold Double Eagle was minted not by the US Mint, but by private industry. And this was not only allowed, but actively encouraged until the San Francisco branch mint was able to fill the needs of the local economy to a sufficient degree. This pristine specimen was graded by PCGS as MS65 and saw a closing price at auction of $552,000. The obvious legend of the 1792 flowing hair large cent reads Liberty, parent of science and industry. And perhaps no coin, certainly not of this era, represents this enterprising spirit more than the 1792 silver center cent. The coin was an attempt to circumvent the unrealistic weight requirements set forth by Congress for the country's first copper coins by adding a small silver plug in the center of the coin worth 3/4 of a cent and only leaving 1/4 of a cent of actual copper. They could reduce the size of the coin to something more manageable for everyday commerce. No more than 14 examples can be traced today, including damaged and repaired examples. The current coin is the Morris specimen, graded by PCGS as MS61 brown, and was sold at auction for $576,000. Subscribe to WNN and feel free to check out another video about rare US coins sold at auction next. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.